Welcome to today's Seidokan Saturday. Continuing with Pinan Godan bunkai. A general word on bunkai, and these are things that I've said before, but I know not everybody goes back and references and watches the things that I recommend. It's kind of like jumping into the middle of a thread on an internet conversation and commenting on a guy when it's already been discussed for an hour in the other way. But I'm going to go back and review a couple of concepts regarding bunkai. We weren't there when the founders created things. That's number one. So I come from the lineage of Shiantoma in Seidokan, and it was very common for the students of Shiantoma to go, hey, what about if I take this kata move and I do it this way? Is that right? And everybody wants right. Well, we weren't there, he wasn't there, and so his answer would be, okay. And then somebody else would take the same move and show a different application, and his common answer, and this is a phrase we use throughout the Seidokan community in particular, both okay. There is no one single definitive, and anybody who tells you this is the bunkai is probably worthy of being discounted, all right, and just ignored. There is no the bunkai. There are some that work better than others. There are optimal and there are suboptimal. Then the second one is, oh, that won't really work in real life. Well, everything that I teach, every bunkai that I approach, has been used in actual self-defense and or sparring simulated. Now, sparring's not real fighting. MMA's not real fighting. The only real fighting is real fighting. We can bypass the whole karate process of learning self-defense by simply going to the worst neighborhood in town, finding the biggest, meanest, ugliest guy with the most prison tattoos, pick a fight. If you survive when you get out of the hospital, repeat the process, and eventually you'll either die or become a good fighter. We can say everything has to be put out there on the street and fire in order to test it. That's kind of a sad, silly way to live your life. So yes, a lot of what we do in bunkai is theoretical, but it should be based on certain sound principles. And I'll go back to last week as a for instance, and I didn't add the description on the video until after the fact because I was in Oklahoma and didn't have access to my whole computer setup and whatever. But let's just take this cross-block concept, if I may, real quick. And I made this comment in the description last week. A lot of what we do in kata is formalized version of instinctive reaction, especially the initial response, okay? A couple of things on this one. I'm walking down the street, I'm not really paying attention, and some guy comes and takes a swing at my head. Ah, crap! Well, what did I just do? If I formalize it, it's this, but it's mostly I covered my head up. Now, once I get here, now I can turn it into the cross block and the continuation. But the first is the initial, oh, my head covered up. That's an instinctive reaction. This is the formal version. Instinctive, formal. And so the oh crap reaction to an attack is a very natural thing. For years, people said chambering the hand in a low block. And you go to Dewey Ramsey, who teaches MMA in China, in Shanghai. And he was doing MMA, and a guy got a hold of a guy like this, right? So he get a hold of me like this, and the guy went and just knocked his hand off, and he was here. And Dewey Ramsey, who for years had said, low blocks are dumb, pulling to the hip is dumb, went, whoa, 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 what did you just do? He said, well, you grabbed my wrist, so I knocked it off, and I pulled my hand back forcefully. The hikite, or the pulling hand position, and there are quotes from, I want to say Kenwa Mabuni, Shitoryu founder, don't quote me on that, but that say the hikite should never come back empty. And we've talked before, for example, in hockey fights, I'm pulling and hitting. That's the standard hockey fight position, right? He's got me by the shoulder, I got him by the shoulder, and we're swinging. At some point, I pull. That's my hikite incomplete. I didn't get him all the way to here. But this position also, for anybody who's ever sat and done a seated cable row machine, if I row up here, it's very weak. I'm using only my rear delts. The best way to engage all of my back, my lats, my middle rhomboids, my rear delts, my biceps, everything engaged that pulls is to have my hand at the height of the elbow bend. That is my strongest position for pulling something in. If I try to pull in too high, it's weak. If I try to pull in too low, it's weak. If I pull at the natural bend, that is my strongest seated cable row position. And so when we're doing this move and I want to pull my hand out, if I just pull, nothing. But if I hit and pull, hey, look, I just did a low block, but my hand came back empty. So is that wrong, bunkai? Well, it worked, so how can it be wrong? And so we go back to the both okay option. So when I'm doing any of these bunkai, and somebody comes on and goes, oh, that won't work in real life, it has. Okay, I would just say it has. Years ago in Kempo, I taught an overhead club defense technique. Let's go this way for this one. The guy comes in overhead, and we block, and we come down, and we break the arm, and we knee, and a series of movements that follow. And it's a preset technique. I was teaching in Las Vegas, and I had a student come back after a couple of days. He came back and said, that technique you taught doesn't work. I'm like, okay. He said, what happened? Well, the guy was a professional gambler. He had just won a large winnings in the Sahara Casino and Hotel in Vegas and was walking down. There's a little sidewalk down the back to where the parking lot is, or it used to be set up that way. And he was walking down, and some guy knew he had the winnings and came at him. And he did this technique. And he knocked the guy out. And I said, well, you're still alive. You still have your money. You knocked the guy out. What do you mean it didn't work? He said, well, the part where you break the arm, his arm didn't break. It's not going to be 100%, but he survived. The cross block worked. These things have been done in real life. So for years we heard, oh, high kicks don't work on the street. Okay, but they work in MMA, which is now considered like the streetest close we can get to without actually being, in a bar fight, which we want to avoid anyway. So MMA kind of gives us a more reality-based pressure testing view of what we're going to do. Okay? So, that said, go ahead and come.
Oh, you're...
Okay, yeah, I'm finishing a video here. Okay? So, our technique for the day. Let's go back to this side. He's going to punch, and in the kata, we're doing this move here. And we can do it larger, or we can do it smaller. So either way, as he's coming in, I'm blocking, and I'm either coming small and hitting his foot, take the hand, striking to the groin. Okay? Or I can do it larger, hey, by taking a kick to the knee, taking a larger step. This can come in as a strike to the head as I grab, taking the back here, and then from here, I can sit back, roll back, and throw him, have him do a front roll. So I can either hit, come to the groin, hit, come back through breaking the elbow and strike, and then actually sit back into a roll and take him into the throw. Okay? This is the move in the kata. That's all we're doing. Then we come in this direction, which again could be a continuation or a new technique. For our purposes, I'm going to set it as a new technique for next week. Where we break the kata, I've done naihanchi all on one attack. This entire sequence, one guy the entire way through the entire kata on one side with a single attack. We can do that just as a drill or as a flow with any attack. As a single attack, this is our bunkai for today. Both okay. If you do something different, cool for you. Hey, 1, 2, done. Again. Hey, 1, 2, done. Or throw. Hey. That's my diatribe for today. Don't get stuck in dogma. Have your mind open to a variety of options. Do pressure test it, because there are applications that are more fanciful and unrealistic. If I'm doing a lot of hand regripping and switching, and I'm moving 4 times my feet for every 1 time he moves his, or if it relies on him standing still for an hour waiting for me, yeah, those would be some things that I would say are red flags to the technique. But short of that, both okay. And until next week, as always, let's keep practicing.